Hey there. Have you ever had a question about God or Christianity or church, or maybe even about sex or race or whatever you can imagine? Here at Stonebrook, we want to answer those questions. Well, more than that, we want to have a conversation with you. So if you've ever had a question that you've been afraid to ask, what does Jesus think about the President of the United States? What is the relationship with Jesus like? If God really is all loving, why is there so much hurt in the world? What is sin? What is the point of church? Is premarital sex a sin? Is the coffee at Stonebrook really better than the coffee at home? Does God love me? Will any of this actually make my life better? We have an anonymous text line where you can ask us literally anything. And we encourage you, test us. Try to trip us up. We want to be a resource for you. And if we aren't having a conversation, then we can't really be a resource. So help us help you and help us help our community. Ask us the tough questions. You keep saying community. What does that actually mean? Is Jesus even real? I'm struggling with my marriage. Is there anything you can do to help? So hit us up, text us anonymously. You can check out our Facebook page or our YouTube. You can leave a comment. You can do whatever you need to do. We are going to open all avenues of communication just so we can hear from you. So what have you wanted to ask?
From the very beginning, when we started Stonebrook, we said we want to be a place where every member is a minister, where every member is a missionary, where we can equip. In fact, that's what, as we're trying to have this zero-based thinking, as we go back to the New Testament, that's what the Apostle Paul said the purpose of ministers was, to equip those that are Jesus followers to serve their friends and their neighborhoods and people in their community, and not just wait for Sunday morning where we get together and we have a great time. I think that will always be our rallying point, and that's what I want Stonebrook to become, a place where Stonebrookers all over the city are impacting their friends and neighborhoods and different organizations that need help, that certainly don't look to the church for help. So many times the church has been the ones that's going to the community asking them to help us. But we want to become an organization that resources the community. And then we get together on Sunday, time to time, and we celebrate, and we get encouraged, and we get more equipped and resourced, and we actually go to the community, and we impact people there.
Hey guys, some of you are wondering, is Stonebrook ever going to actually get together in person again? It's been almost a year since we had official meetings. So, we ever going to get together? Well, the answer is absolutely. February 21st, which is a Sunday, we are going to have a meeting here at Stonebrook in person. Stonebrook Center here in Waynesville. The catch is this is going to be a meeting that is only open to what we call the Dream Team. What is the Dream Team, you ask? Well, the Dream Team is anybody at Stonebrook that is involved in serving in any area. What we're going to do with Stonebrook, as we'll begin to reveal at these get-togethers, is we're going to actually build a brand new thing, a brand new entity, a brand new way of reaching out to our community here in Waynesville. It will still be called Stonebrook, but it will be, in many ways, very different. I'm very excited about it. I think it's something that all of you are going to love and enjoy. But at the center of it all, the focus, the foundation of everything we are going to do here is serving one another, serving others in our community, serving people that need our help in all kinds of different ways. So therefore, these first meetings will be for those that are focused on, that are centered around serving one another in our community. So you think, well, I'm not on the Dream Team. Don't despair. You can sign up for the Dream Team. You can go to www.stonebrook.tv/serve and you can sign up online, and we would love to have you as part of our dream team. We would love to have you as part of our hangouts and get-togethers that will be coming up. The band will be there. I'm sure we'll have donuts and coffee, and it will be so exciting to see each other again. We are going to require social distancing. We are going to require you to wear a mask. It is our intent, because we are in a military town, because we have so many military people that are involved with us, and we want to reach the military, to comply with our military neighbors that are basically saying any business, any organization that has any get-together, you have to, put certain ways of meeting, ways of getting together, ways of interacting into place, one of them being wear a mask, have social distancing, in order for military people to participate. And we definitely want military people to participate. So that's Sunday, 10:30 in the morning, February 21st, and we'll be talking more about it, but just wanted to give you a heads up that there are good things on the horizon. Fear not, we are going to get together. We're going to have a great time. There will be childcare for your kids. We're not going to have the way we've had kids in the past at this particular time, where we have Kids Rock and Kids Zoo, but there will be childcare and they will be taken care of. We're going to eat together. It's basically going to be a party. It's going to be so good to see each other. I don't know if we should be hugging each other, maybe, air high fives or fist bumps from a distance, but we really look forward to seeing you again, February 21st on a Sunday. See you then.
Hello. Make sure I got this thing on. Good morning, everybody. I'll take my mask down for now. Everybody that's near me, keep your distance. Hello. It's Sunday once again. We're here hanging out. A few of us are here hanging out in the booth at Stonebrook, and we're going to continue our series this week. If you are here and in chat, and it's your, just say hi. I would love to say hi to you, Montisha, Milton, Christina. Let's see, Marty. Oh, happy birthday, Marty. I don't know that I actually sent you a message on Facebook, but I meant to. Happy birthday, Marty. If you're in chat right now, wish Marty a happy birthday. Awesome. Hi, Christina. So at Stonebrook lately, we've been talking about a few different things, primarily about what we call the end of the world as we know it. And we wanted to take a closer look at what Christians and religious leaders over the past, or even from the Bible, has had to say about the end times. What does it look like to us now? Is it relevant to us now? Mark has a lot of insight and a lot of interesting thoughts and things that may help you on your journey to making decisions yourself. But that's really what we want to explore today. Political climates, literally our world climate. Like so many things, a lot of people can take little bits of scriptures from the Bible and say, this is proof that we're in the end times. But Mark is going to come and talk a little bit why some of that proof may not mean what you think it means or what we think it means. So it's a good day. If you've ever had questions about the future or what Christians believe about the rapture or being left behind, I am a fan of Nick Cage. I'm sure you've heard Mark mention it a couple times. So I don't like the movies, but I do like Nick Cage. But anyway, so if you have any questions about that, feel free to text us at 415-SB-ROCKS. That number is going to be up on the screen from time to time. Today, let's see. Oh, we have so many happy birthdays. Awesome. Good. Hello. Oh, Christine. And we have Lisa and Montisha. Cool. Heather Rogers, Troy. Man, y'all are here, and that just makes my heart happy. So, in case you didn't hear, we are going to meet February 21st here at Stonebrook Center. This meeting is a Dream Team exclusive event. If you're not a member of the Dream Team, you are welcome to become a member of the Dream Team. You can go to stonebrook.tv/serve. That's another link that will pop up at some point today during our stream. But we just think that we have a lot to look forward to. We're really looking forward to giving back to our community more than we ever have before. But yeah, so today we're going to continue our series, The End of the World as We Know It. We have, I think, one more week of that. and then we're going to break down some information about understanding the Bible. And Mark will even mention some of that during his message today. So thank you so much for hanging out, for taking some time out of your Sunday morning. If you're listening to this or watching this and it's not Sunday morning, hello, I'm happy to see you too. I hope you have a fantastic day. But other than that, we are going to get things started now. Remember, if you have a comment or a question, feel free to ask in chat or send us a text to that anonymous text line, 415-727-6257 or 415-SB-ROCKS. If you happen to know how to make letters with a keypad on a phone. So yeah, sit back, relax, grab some coffee, enjoy yourself, and we will catch you soon.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name's Mark, one of the leaders here at Stonebrook. Really excited that you took some time out of your weekend to hang out with us. What we've been doing for the past several weeks, and maybe for a couple of weeks or more in the future, is we're talking on the subject, the end of the world as you know it. And this is a subject that for decades has been talked about in American churches, and the idea that the end of the world is somehow imminent, that we're sort of at the end of the line as far as history is concerned. God is wrapping this whole thing up, and that as we get closer to that end of the line, bad things will begin to happen here on the earth. And because bad times are happening, earthquakes, wars, all these signs are supposed to point us toward the end of the age. The question we're asking, number one, is that the case? And number two, in finding out if that's the case, did Jesus mean that that's what was going to happen 2,000 years in the distance? In finding out whether or not he meant that, I think it'll help us to actually understand the Bible better, which is something that I really desire for all people, is to get a better working knowledge of how the Bible actually works. What is the Bible? How does it work? What do we do with it? And this subject sort of provides a good contrast between what many preachers, guys like me, have said that is the Bible actually is teaching, but the reality is maybe not so much. When we put ourselves, and that's what we're trying to do, we put ourselves in the first century context in the area of Israel with this Jewish rabbi, carpenter, peasant, homeless guy. Maybe he wasn't really homeless, but he's traveling around, he's teaching people, and we pick up the story when he is nearing the end of his time on earth, and he is he's about to enter in to the city of Jerusalem. They are actually going to hail him as their new king. And this is what you really need to get. This everything hinges on this. The people of the first century in Jesus' time, especially his followers, believed that he was, as we do, the Messiah. But to them, the word Messiah meant something entirely different than the way we view it today. That this was going to be a military leader, this was going to be a champion, a white knight, if you will, riding in on his trusty steed to vanquish the Romans who were militarily occupying their nation. The nation of Israel at that time was not free. They couldn't just do what they wanted, worship in the way that they wanted to, and that Jesus was there to set up an eternal, earthly kingdom. His closest followers expected to be in his cabinet, if you will. They expected to be Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Transportation, Agriculture, so on. And they thought that they were going to be in this new eternal government with Jesus as an earthly king. As he rides into Jerusalem in the final days of his life here on the earth, the people of Jerusalem hail him. They go out to meet him. They have palm branches where we get Palm Sunday. They're laying down their coats on the ground. He's riding, instead of on this trusty, mighty horse, he's riding on a little donkey. He's trying to vividly show them an object lesson is, I'm not who you think I am. And the way God does things is not the way that human beings and human governments do things. I'm initiating a new kind of kingdom, And if you'll follow me, things will go well for you. But if you don't, if you follow the ways of humans throughout all in history and in governments through all of history, this is going to end up very bad for you and your entire nation. And so he's coming into Jerusalem, and people are very excited that to them, their king is coming. And it says, as he came closer to Jerusalem and he saw the city ahead, he began to weep. It's like, whoa, why is Jesus all of a sudden breaking down crying? This is a time of celebration. Don't you know that you are here? You are the chosen one. You are the one that is going to bring Israel back to greatness and prominence, and we're going to rule in our own nation again and vanquish the nations around us, and they're going to know that there is a God in Israel. We're going to kick butt and take names. Jesus, get happy. But Jesus actually begins to weep. And then he says this strange thing: how I wish today that you, Jerusalem, of all people, would understand the way to peace. And here's the thing about Jesus' kingdom. This was such a strange thing that the disciples, while he was on earth, never did get it. They eventually, after he rose from the dead, light bulb moment, epiphany, wow, we have understood God completely wrong, and his kingdom is not like kingdoms of this world. But Jesus, instead of saying, hey, let's kick the Romans' butt, he would say, you need to love your enemies. In fact, if one of those soldiers compels you to carry his equipment for a mile, tell you what, you go 2 miles and say, thank you, sir, glad to serve you today. Well, this was revolutionized. It was causing their brain to short circuit. What do you mean, Jesus? They're the enemies of God. We're supposed to put them under so God will be exalted and glorified. But Jesus said, nah, not really. That's not how God is. The way that God overcomes, the way that God leads, is through humble, self-sacrificing service to others. He loves his enemies. He puts them first. He does good for them. This was Jesus' kingdom way to peace. But now it's too late, he says. You guys didn't get it. And peace is hidden from your eyes. But what Jesus is about to say doesn't just have to do with something spiritual. We think of Jesus talking about they didn't understand how to have peace in their heart. That's not what he's talking about. He goes on and says, before long, your enemies. This is the Rome. They understood your enemies to be the Roman government, the Roman army, will build ramparts against your walls the way that they did war in those days, especially in Jerusalem. And this actually happened historically. They will build ramparts against your walls. They would build like a ramp. It was called a siege, where they would retreat to a walled city. Well, the army just waited and basically starved them out. They would get close to the walls and have some people that would shoot at the people on the wall long enough for them to put some dirt there. And over time, with them surrounding the city, they would build up a wall, eventually go over the wall and kill everybody involved. Well, there was a siege that happened in Jerusalem, lasted for months and months and months and months. They will build ramparts against your walls and encircle you and close in on you from every side. He goes on to say, they will crush you into the ground, and your children with you. Your enemies will not leave a single stone in place because you did not recognize it when God visited you. What Jesus is saying here is, I showed up as God in the flesh. And I tried to tell you didn't understand God. I tried to show you a way to bring peace, not only to your nation, but the entire earth. But you wouldn't listen to that. You're still following these human ways of thinking if we have an enemy, we have to crush them before they crush us. In fact, this is what happened after Jesus rose from the dead and left. His disciples eventually learned this way of peace. But the people in the Jewish nation, and we'll see it later where Jesus said, many messiahs will come in my name. It actually happened where they prophesied and said, God is going to deliver us from the Roman army. Let's join up. Let's get a group together. Let's rise up. Let's pick up weapons. Let's respond violently. Let's kick them out of our nation and make God king here again. And people believed them, followed their advice, and it went really, really badly for them. They finally retreated to the temple area and to the city itself, were eventually starved out. And these messiahs kept prophesying, God is going to deliver us. He is going to use our violence, our weapons. He's going to bring deliverance through me, this Messiah. And it was not true. And Jesus predicted it decades before it happened. Then after that, Jesus entered the temple and began to drive out the people selling animals for sacrifice. Now, I want to stop and talk just a little bit about this. And like I said at the beginning of this series, this is going to be a little bit nerdy. I just want to stop and talk about details. And I've said some of these things before, but here is, and this has been used many times for people talking about, I'm just like Jesus. I'm going to start flipping tables. And people have such a misunderstanding of what the heck, Jesus? Why did you go into the temple and you start driving out these people? But here's one of the hints. They were selling animals for sacrifices. Is that why Jesus was mad? When I grew up in church as a kid, if you ever had a t-shirt sale or something for your youth group or whatever, even if it was for a mission trip, you couldn't do it in the actual sanctuary because people will say, well, Jesus flipped tables over that. You're not supposed to sell stuff inside the church building. Is that what Jesus was upset about? No. Let me show you. Here is an actual model of the temple structure. This is the second temple. I won't go into all why it's the second, but this was rebuilt in about the 5th century BC. Then it was remodeled and expanded in the time of Herod. It took over 40 years to build. Magnificent, magnificent structure. And you can see here, there's this wall around it. In this taller building, right here in the center, is where they would go once a year on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. The high priest would make a sacrifice there. Inside here were other things that were going on as far as sacrifices and things like that. And then around the outside, and this is really important, around the outside, this is called the Court of the Gentiles. This is if you were a non-Jewish person, you could be involved in the worship of Yahweh, the Jewish God, but you could never go inside here, but you could, be out here, get close to what was going on in this big sort of patio area. And here we sort of zero in on the main structure. Again, the outside, if you weren't a Jewish person, you could hang out there, but you could never go inside here. This is something that Jesus is addressing over and over in his time here on the earth, is he came to shut down religion. This was never God's intent that anyone was to ever be excluded from being able to communicate and have a relationship with him, but the Jewish people, as happens with Christian people. It's not anything against the Jews. They had built structures to keep people away from God. In fact, on the outside, there were 4 entrances. I don't know if you can see it here, but there's a door here, and there are actually 4 of those. And by each door, they had placed a warning stone. And we actually have, archaeologists have dug up 3 of those stones. Here's an example of one in a museum here, and it has writing on it. And that writing, which is in Greek, says this: no foreigner may enter within the balustrade around the sanctuary. The sanctuary is that inner part. And the enclosure, whoever is caught on himself shall be put to blame for the death which will ensue. Welcome to church. You can't come in here, but you can stand outside and watch. And that's basically what had happened, is you had this place where the Gentile people could sort of observe what was going on there. Well, what made Jesus so angry? And we'll see a picture of this just a little bit later, is at the time, in fact, about a year before this happened, the Sadducees, who were the group of people that were in charge of the temple, they were the priests, had changed one of the rules. In fact, let me go back to a picture of this. And to make things more convenient for them, because people had to buy sacrifices. Jewish people lived in nations all over the Roman Empire, and so it was prohibitive to pick up a lamb from your house and carry it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles to Jerusalem to sacrifice. And some people weren't agricultural people anymore, so they had to buy a sacrifice when they got to Jerusalem. The problem wasn't that they were buying things or buying for animal sacrifices. The problem was location. Location, location, location. Before they would go across the Kidron Valley to the Mount of Olives, which was a little ways away from the temple, and they set up the market there, and you would buy your animal sacrifice there. But just recently, the Sadducees had made it to where, that's a lot of trouble. We got to walk across that valley up the hill, then we got to come back and make our sacrifices. Why don't we move the market right in here, in this area, right around where the sacrifices are made? We'll set up the market there, and it'll be much more convenient. People can get their sacrifices, go in, do their business. It'll just be like a one-stop shop. The only problem is that it now excluded the Gentiles. It excluded non-Jewish people from participating at all, because the only place, this patio area that they could even get anywhere close to, supposedly where God lived, was there, and now it was filled with things to make the Jewish people more comfortable and for it to be more convenient for them. It ticked Jesus off. You want to know what makes God mad? It's putting any barrier between him and people who honestly just want to get to know him. So Jesus went off on the boys, and he cleans that temple. Now here's something you need to understand, that the people around Jesus, his followers, they've just hailed him as king entering into Jerusalem. They see this as an act of him setting up shop. Because notice after this, it says after that, after he goes over the tables, cleanses the temple, get this stuff out of here. He even says this is supposed to be a house of prayer for all the nations. Not just Jewish people. This is for everybody. Religion excludes people and keeps them out. I've come here to include everybody. After that, he taught daily in the temple, but the leading priests, the teachers of religion, other leaders of the people, began planning how to kill him. But to Jesus' followers, they think he's setting up shop in the temple, readying his kingdom. They still expect Jesus to become king of national Israel. And they think, here it is, he's setting up. So the disciples, Peter, James, John, Andrew, they're looking around the temple thinking, this is going to be really nice when we're in charge. Jesus just kicked everybody out. He rode into town as the king, and now he's teaching every day in the temple. This is going to make a great White House. This is going to make a great state building. This is office space. I like that corner office over there. And they are noticing the temple. It says, as Jesus was leaving the temple that day, one of his disciples said, "Teacher, look at all these magnificent buildings. Look at the impressive stones in these walls. Your kingdom is going to be amazing, and we're going to be in charge with you." Well, Jesus, being the party pooper that he often is, simply replies, "Yeah, look at these great buildings. But they will be completely demolished. Not one stone will be left on top of another." Now, there's no way for me to adequately express to Americans living in the 21st century just how devastating the statement was to Jesus' followers and the entire Jewish people. The temple was more than a place that they went on Sunday. That was sort of a nice place to go. We do that for an hour on Sunday. The temple, that's where God lived. To them, God actually lived there. And if the temple wasn't there, where's God? If the temple wasn't there, who are we as a nation? If the temple is gone, what is life even about? It's over. If the temple is destroyed, and remember they've experienced this one time before in their history when they were taken away to exile, and they thought that God had completely left them, and it was over, and they would no longer be a nation, and they were no longer cared for or loved by God himself. There's no way to express how central the temple is to not only the religious structure, but the entire national culture, it would be like somebody saying, yeah, the White House is going to be destroyed, the Capitol building is going to be crushed, the Statue of Liberty, forget it, burned, Liberty Bell, everything, even the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, all of our symbols, everything that our entire nation revolves around, gone. This is the weight of this statement from Jesus. So Jesus just says that, walks away. It says later, Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives across the valley from the temple. Peter, James, John, and Andrew came to him privately and asked him. Now, just real quickly, because I'd like you to be able to see, here's where the temple would have been. There's a valley. This is the Kidron Valley in between the temple. And here, this is the present-day temple, the Dome of the Rock, that is actually a Muslim shrine at the moment. This is where the same temple that Jesus cleansed was, right here. This is looking from the Mount of Olives across the Kidron Valley over to where the temple structure was. Picture, Jesus said, yep, this is all going to be gone. And he crosses the valley, goes and sits down on the hill, and just looks back at the temple. Remember just a few verses before, he's weeping because he knows what's going to happen to these people that he loves with all of his heart. These people that he spent 3.5 years basically begging to understand what God is like. And they haven't listened. His closest friends come to him and said, tell us, when? When will all this happen? What is this? The temple being destroyed. Everything Jesus is about to discuss with them is what sign will show us that these things, what things? The temple being destroyed. Jerusalem being overrun by our enemies. When will these things, when will they be fulfilled? And over the next verses, we're just going to go through them as quickly as we can, nerd out a little bit as we go. We just have a few minutes left today. But here is Jesus' response. Once again, everything he's about to say is answering their question about when will the temple be destroyed. Jesus replied, don't let anyone mislead you. Unfortunately, many have. For many will come in my name claiming, I am the Messiah, and they will deceive many. This actually happened. It happened during the siege of Jerusalem, where one person said, I'm the Messiah, and God has anointed me, and everyone that follows me, we're going to get together, and God is going to give us a special power to vanquish the Romans. They all showed up together, actually on the Mount of Olives, to sort of have this insurrection against the Roman government. Well, the Roman government got wind of it, and this Messiah said, God is going to show up and show himself strong. Well, God didn't show up, but the Roman government showed up and destroyed, killed all of them. Jesus is predicting this. He said, don't follow them. Their way of violence, their way of vengeance, their way of overcoming and installing a kingdom of God through force is not who I am. He goes on and says, you will hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't panic. He's not talking about 2,000 years from now. He's talking about something that actually happened then. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. He says nation will go to war against nation. That actually happened. Kingdom against kingdom. Rome went to war against all kinds of kingdoms and nations. There will be earthquakes many places, but this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come. He said, when these things begin to happen, watch out. You, who? Peter, James, John, Andrew, you, my followers, will be handed over to the local councils and beaten in the synagogues. He's not talking about something that's going to happen to us as Christians. You think we're going to be beaten in synagogues? You will stand trial before governors and kings. This actually happens. We have records of this in the book of Acts of his followers standing before different rulers. But this will be an opportunity for you to tell them about me. And here's something he says, and we'll sort of end with this for today. We have more to go. For the good news or the gospel The good news must first be preached to all nations. And this is where some people will say, aha! See, this means that before Jesus returns someday in the clouds and there's a rapture, we have to preach the gospel all over the world. Well, to them, all nations meant something different. In the book of Acts chapter 2, the day of Pentecost, it says, at that time there were devout Jews from every nation living in Jerusalem. Every nation? China? Russia? England? The United States? Brazil? No. To them, every nation meant all over the Roman Empire. In fact, the Apostle Paul, in writing to the church at Colossae, said this about the good news being preached. He said, the good news has been preached all over the world. And I, Paul, have been appointed to proclaim it. The Apostle Paul says that the good news being preached, which I've heard a lot of preachers say, the end is getting near. We're preaching the gospel in every single nation. It's a great thing to preach the gospel in every single nation. But what Jesus is talking about already was accomplished in the first century. The known world at the time understood who Jesus was. His message went out to the entire world by 70 AD. And that's when the end came to the Jewish nation, the Jewish religion, the Jewish structure of accessing and worshiping God, which was not at all what God wanted. It was judged. It came to an end. It was the end of the world as they knew it. We'll go through some more of these passages next week and dig a little deeper into what exactly Jesus meant by the end will come. So thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I hope you have a great rest of the day on Sunday. Invite a friend to hang out with us on, to watch this, frankly, anytime. It doesn't have to be on a Sunday, but we will for sure see you next Sunday. Have a great week.